Welcome to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, presented by Andy Moore Honda of Bloomington.
Know your role and shut your mouth, you jabroni!
Fires upfield into the end zone, and it's caught. Jelani Woods, touchdown! INDY!
43-point night for Tyrese Halliburton.
How do you like that, partner?
Renew now, drives in low, throws up a shot. It doesn't go. Tipped up and in by Anthony Leal. Indiana takes the lead.
It's pretty simple. I win. Google me.
Now, here's your host, Jim Coyle.
Hello, everybody. I hope you're all having a fine Friday. Welcome aboard. I hope your week was wonderful. And although I'm sure it was wet, but that's okay. NT's life, a little rain must fall, especially when a hurricane comes through. I hope everyone's safe. Anybody that might be listening from down in the path of the hurricane up through Florida. I know we have a lot of Florida peeps that listen on YouTube. So I hope everybody's doing well and not any damage. I know there's going to be some, but hopefully it's as little as possible. Hopefully this weather gets out of here for this weekend's college football games. Indiana hosting Maryland to open up Big Ten play at home as they look to go 5-0 for the first time in 57 years. As you can see there, the Saturday weather forecast for the Indiana-Maryland game in Bloomington, 68 degrees for the high. So it will be a bundle up a little bit, more like a keep the rain off of you. Overcast, 70% chance of rain. That makes me, what's this game going to be like? I'm expecting a lot more running, of course, but that may help keep this game close. Maryland is not a bad team. They're just not as good as Indiana, but it's not that it's that far off. As I've said a lot, weather and turnovers, great equalizers in college football. So we'll see how Indiana takes the challenge as they'll take on the, you know who they're playing. Northwestern Wildcat. Maryland Terrapins. Northwestern's next. But combination of a quarterback and wide receiver on the Maryland team that is pretty potent. They've got a pretty tough up defensive front. So Indiana's going to get tested. Their line's going to get tested. They've only given up 3 sacks this year so far. Can they keep that up? That's asking a lot, but we shall see. Appreciate everybody hitting us up on the Andy Moore Honda hotline as we're coming to you from the Hard Truth Studios, from the Hard Truth Distilling Company. Make sure that each and every opportunity you get, you're stopping by the Hard Truth over in Nashville, Indiana, located in beautiful Brown County, which is this is their time of year. It just really shines. It's always beautiful, but it just really seems to shine in the fall. But how about some sour mash bourbon or any of their hard road ryes or toasted coconut rum, vanilla vodka? Whew, that sounds like some good winter. But you could make some good winter things out of that. But and if you take a picture and send it to me, and I'm gonna once we start getting these in, I'm gonna start putting them together for a drawing. Just dropped off a bunch of stuff to get made up for more giveaways. And so we'll look forward to that as we head into the heart of the college football season. You know, this is week 5 for the Indiana Hoosiers. And of course that will be followed by week 6, but that means we're halfway through the college football season. That's just crazy. But yes, it is the case. Indiana will take on Northwestern the following week after playing Maryland, October 5th. Then they have a bye, which could not come at a more perfect time at the halfway point of their season. It's going to stink not to have college football, but I'm not going to complain about having a weekend off. Never even thought about that. Very nice. Very nice. So looking forward to that. I hope you have had a great week, and we'll get you started for a great part of your weekend, no matter where and how you're listening on the YouTube channel or any of our affiliates like 97.7 The Ref, ESPN, always the right call down in Evansville. And up in the region, the voice of the region, 1230 AM, 104.7 FM, WJOB, and over in Fort Wayne as Fort Wayne's only sports station, 1380 The Fan. Keep it tuned right here after Indiana Sports Beat Radio for continued content right here on these stations. Man, it's going to be kind of a lazy Friday. It's just that weather's out there. I'm sure no one wants to be at work, but that's just how it goes. Let's see. Russell says he thinks Mullins is trending UConn, and I don't think I don't know who he means, get right. Brown won't decide until late spring next year. One man, you guys got to stop complaining. Seriously, chill. Let the process play out. That could be correct, but let's wait to see how it happens. I have seen that there is a pot that's the chatter that Mullins is trending UConn, could be, but that's chatter. I don't know how reliable that is. It's not something that I've heard from anybody inside. Just like I did hear, I did know that there was pretty good indication that Jalen Harrelson was going to go to Notre Dame before that came out. But nothing on this yet. Nothing on Braylon Mullins, although UConn is a big draw. But here's the thing. They're not going to win a national championship 3 years in a row. I don't think. To do so, and I've said this before, I'll say it again because it's factual, but I don't know their roster. I would have to look at it. But to win a national championship in college basketball now, you have to have 4 NBA level draft picks on the roster to win a national championship. That has been the case for the last 6 straight years. Every national champion has had a minimum of 4 NBA draft picks that played on that team. Does UConn have that this year? I don't know. I haven't studied their roster. But actually, this is for next year. So, yeah, it'll be interesting to see, and it'll pop when it pops. So, no indication on that, and I'm not sure when that decision is going to come out. So, we just got to wait till that one happens. Brian's got his picks in, but he might have to adjust after kickoff. Before kickoff, I was going to say, how do you adjust after kickoff? That's a good idea. Hey, on the program today, Todd Leary, the Todd Father, joins us. Zach Osterman and Jeffrey the Greek makes a triumphant return. It's been too long. Cheryl Sizemore, how are you doing? Appreciate you. Make sure that for those of you looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, reach out to Cheryl at IndyHomePros.com. Her 2 decades of experience could be the difference in getting the home you want or not. Reach out to her. She's a great supporter. Appreciate you, Cheryl. Russell, yes, there is. Were you getting nervous? Let's see. Pecan Pie is asking, can I use defense stop Maryland? That's the key. Well, Maryland seems to be a one-dimensional team, though. And that's the combination of their quarterback and the wide receiver, which I am drawing a blank on his name right now. Billy Edwards Jr. is the quarterback. But he's recorded 4 consecutive 100-yard receiving games. And while he is going to be somebody that has to be contained and will be dangerous and they're going to score points. The spread the last I looked at, on FanDuel was 6.5. And I think that Indiana covers that. Not that that's the most important thing in the world, but it's just the weather thing. How much weather are we going to talk about? Are we going to talk about some downpours that makes it difficult to plod along and turn this into more of a running football game? Although I'm sure unless it's just pouring down, they can still throw the short passes. Maryland's game, the deep ball, a big part of it. If it's raining, that's going to help neutralize that deep threat. But Indiana starting to get some traction by people, as they should be, with their successes this season. When Indiana hosts Maryland, a team that they lost to 44-17 last year. Maryland beat the Hoosiers 44. Yeah, there you go. Ty Felton, thank you. The Maryland wide receiver. But where was I? 44-17 last season. Indiana was destroyed in every phase of the game, but that is no more. Don Fisher asked him last night on his coach's show how he has changed the culture so fast. And he just said, you have to have a plan. You have to have a blueprint. And I get it. He's talking about, he's done it before. They've done this a lot. So they just keep improving on what they're doing, and it continues to work. And it has worked. Even JMU, who he left behind, they beat North Carolina last week 70-50. And that's with JMU losing what they lost. Crazy. We've got to take a break. When we come back, the shot father, Todd Leary, joins us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio from the Hard Truth Distilling Company Studios. Back with more right after this.
This segment is brought to you by the Rusty Gator in Bedford, where oceanic flavors meet southern charm. In the market for a new or used vehicle? Well, nobody beats the prices and selection of Andy Moore Honda in Bloomington. Right now, get a brand new Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right, 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment-free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com.
Looking for someone to cater your next corporate event, family reunion, or tailgate? To some, a garnish may be nothing more than just a decoration put last on a plate. But in Bloomington, catering starts with Garnish Catering. Serving all of Bloomington and surrounding areas, Garnish Catering is waiting to help make your next event one to remember. Planning a great event shouldn't have to be stressful. Whether we quote you just for catering or a total event package, you can trust that you're making the right choice with Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of WOW Food Group.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33. Pizza, burgers, beer.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf Community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details.
Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off of your first order.
This segment is brought to you by Freethink Apparel.
Welcome back, Indiana Sports Beat Radio, from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios on this Friday, joined by Shot Father, Todd Leary. How are you doing, sir?
Well, I feel like I need to up my energy. You're coming in strong and hot right there.
Hey, man, it's Friday. It's Friday.
I like it.
I'll tell you, I'll be honest with you. I had computer issues in the studio, and the computer went kablooey. I can't remember if it was early in the week or at the end of last week, but had to get that fixed. Yeah. But I realized at the time I'm going to have to get another computer. Boom. So had the repair bill, but I had to buy the new computer. Get the new computer home. I had 3 monitors set up that I used in the studio. Guess what? The new computer has the ability to host 1 monitor. And I'm like,
might have wanted to check that out before you bought it.
Very wise move, very wise thing. I'll grant you that. But who expects a freaking computer to have 1 port for a monitor? So then I had to find a monitor that would take up the room of 3 monitors so I could get it all in that space, and got that done, and was late last night trying to get everything back to normal. And so I've got plenty of room. I can see you. You're larger than life right now. And that's the whole reason I got it, because you are larger than life, and I wanted to make sure that's exactly what I got to see that. Yep, lots of Todd in the morning, baby. How's your week going?
Yeah, big time. This is my rough work week, so I'm on the tail end of long days. So I'll be really happy when today's over. Let's just put it that way.
Well, it might be a rainy weekend for you to sit back and watch college football all weekend.
You know, we got the big party tomorrow night for, of course, noon tomorrow. We'll be packing the rock. I won't be. I'll be out of town. But in spirit, I'll be packing the rock. But then tomorrow night, you know, our household will be hopefully celebrating a victory, taking down the Crimson Tide.
Crimson Tide? Oh, my, that's right. I forgot. That's a Georgia household there over.
Yes, it is.
In the and Todd has adopted the Georgia Bulldogs in a wise move.
Had zero choice, but yes, I have. Forced adoption, but yes.
I'm telling you, I think I'm going with Alabama in that game.
I am. I know. I'm scared too. I know.
It's Kalen DeBoer, number one, and Georgia's outing against Kentucky. I was like, yeah, I don't know, man. Just Alabama kicked the crap out of Wisconsin up in Madison. I think Kalen's starting to find his groove and all those guys. So I'm like, yeah, I think this could be another bad year for the Bulldogs. Not bad year, but not winning a national championship's a bad year. So, but that's
the good part about why I am so excited for the college football playoff is because a game like this, although you definitely want to win, it doesn't end your season if you lose. And in the past, from a national championship perspective in football, if you especially in the SEC, you don't win that league or, make some incredible run at the end, like you're out of it, and that's not the case anymore. So yeah, that makes tomorrow's game a little bit more enjoyable because there's not as much riding on it.
Well, especially playing in the SEC as well. There's a little more latitude in especially at the top of the SEC, the Big Ten, because last week the SEC had 6 of the top 7 teams in the AP poll, which
that's pretty crazy.
AP poll is, yeah, but a little more leeway, but it's going to be fun, man. I hope it doesn't rain during the Indiana game. I like to see games that are clean. I don't want weather playing a part in potential turnovers or stuff like that, because that just sucks, because when outside forces change the game's outcome, that sucks.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like it's you just hope that we get to see, for both teams, go out there and put your best teams out there, do good stuff, play well, and hopefully we think Indiana will come out on the good side of that. But that's the one factor with football. That's why I'm a soft inside basketball person, because we never really had rain delays and weather issues. So
yeah,
don't love it.
No, that's one thing you did not have to worry about. That's true. Or have to play in it. That has to be nice as well.
I'm soft. I would not have done well. I was cold on the bench during IU games, like, let alone. And nowadays, like, especially in the NBA, you see those guys when they come out of the game, they've got on, towels wrapped around their neck. They're all trying to keep themselves warm. Coach Knight was totally against that. Like, we were not even allowed to wear, like, extra shirt underneath our uniforms. So yeah, it was.
Why?
I know.
Why was that? Was it about the look?
Just the old school part of it. I mean, that old school way of thinking. It has its positives, but it also has its negatives. and most of the time the players got the bad end of that deal, because I'm telling you, it was freezing on the bench. Like, it was always cold. If you used to always watch, everyone was always like warming up their hands. Like, it was always cold. And I spent a lot of time over there, so I'm very familiar with the temperature around that area.
Well, speaking of which, so where was the coldest place to play?
Minnesota, yeah.
I was going to say Minnesota lends itself to being that, but the barn.
The doors to the barn were I mean, it's old school gym. So, like, the doors to, like, then, you walk through arena, and then you go into, like, the big common area, and then you walk, down into another area that's where the seating and all that is. Well, that's really not that way up in Minnesota. You walk through the doors, and it's like a high school gym. Within, like, 20 feet, you're all of a sudden at your seats. And when those doors keep opening and closing, and it's the middle of February in Minnesota, that breeze definitely comes through there. So, yeah, that's without question the coldest place.
I can only, to try to put it in perspective for people, have you ever been in a restaurant and you happen to get the bad seat in January that's right by the damn door that everybody keeps opening up, and every time they open it up, you get this Arctic blast?
Bangs on your
I swear to God, that is the worst thing. I'm like, God dang it, lock the door. But
pick your restaurants better, buddy.
Yeah, well, pick your seats better and get there in time.
There you go.
But yeah, but that's what that reminds me of. Let's see. We'll just keep on with football for right now until we get to the next segment, talk some hoops. But Rutgers and Washington this week, Michigan, Minnesota, Indiana hosting Maryland. Todd, the Hoosiers are looking to go 5-0 for the first time in 57 years. That's crazy stat, but
that is staggering.
57
even with the good
years.
teams, it's staggering that it's been that long since they were 5-0. Like
I will give them this. They got screwed by the Big Ten for 5 out of 7 years. They started their season with a Big Ten opponent, and no other team in the conference had anything like that. So that didn't help. That doesn't help matters. But
okay, call it a 52-year streak then.
No, I'm saying, but that doesn't leave it. That should have happened. Curt Cignetti, the first coach to start his tenure 4-0 ever at Indiana. So they've got that going. Oh, there was a great stat Fox Sports put out last night on Twitter. There are 5 teams that have top 10 scoring offenses and scoring defenses. 4 of those teams are ranked in the top 10. Alabama, maybe Miami. I'm trying to go off of memory now, but Georgia, Utah maybe, but those top 10 teams. The 5th one, of course, was Indiana, unranked. It's just so funny that every metric that they have, but that they're still not getting the love. They'll be ranked in the top 25 this week if they beat Michigan or Maryland, without question. They're only 2 spots out of that, but it shows you how hard it is to overcome perceptions. The perceptions of people. They've won 4 games. They've done all this and done that, but still, there's a lot of people that are still keeping them at arm's length.
Yeah, and you know what? Hey, I don't blame them. I understand that. I'm not sold yet. Like, we're 4-0, and here's the thing. Here's what I love, I think, about Coach Cignetti, without knowing him personally, is I don't think me saying I'm still a little skeptical that we are as good as what those stats say that we are, because there's nothing on paper right now to prove it. Now, yes, they've won all the games they played, and they've put themselves in that position, but we will all agree their opponents have not been that great. I think UCLA playing LSU really well after Indiana beat them out in California, I think that helps your argument and your theory of them. They should be higher thought of, but I'm fine with being where they're at. I'm fine with people being a little skeptical of them until they go out. Now that you go beat 1 or 2 Big Ten opponents in a row, yeah. And I get it, UCLA is now, but I'm just saying, like, now we're in the meat of the meat of the schedule, and if they do it now, you win a couple more games, you start out 6-0, they'll be thought of higher. They'll be ranked.
Oh, absolutely. Like I said, I think that they'll be ranked if they win this weekend. They were only 5 points off of that, but you're right. All 4 games they were supposed to win.
Right.
And they did. They've just done it way more handily, way more dominantly than what. And people are. I've seen a couple clips of people around the country, different, CBS or this, that. They're talking about, hey, how about Indiana? Curt Cignetti come in saying, Google me. Yeah, we were all laughing, but look at them now. He goes, they're doing it. So they're starting to catch some attention around the country. But the danger in being an Indiana is you can go 4, 5, maybe 6 games, but boy, you lose that one and it knocks you way back from what you gain differently than it does a lot of other teams.
Yeah, there's no doubt about it. But you know what? Like, Jim, I'm not crying wolf here. Like, Indiana has earned that reputation and that position that they put themselves in. And it's pretty easy to earn your way out of it. It's just called winning. And you know, they'll be looked at pretty highly. I mean, think about a few years ago. I mean, what do you think of right now when I bring up Kansas football, Kansas State, some teams like that really, in the long run, have not been viewed as, you know, nationally prominent teams, and now they are. I mean, Kansas, I think people get kind of surprised when Kansas isn't decent at football now, and that definitely wasn't the case 15 years ago. So Indiana can win their way out of that reputation. It just comes down to it's not a fast process where you go 4-0 against teams you were supposed to beat, and all of a sudden everybody now just jumps on the bandwagon and says, yeah, you're legit. And so proving that you're legit is part of the process, and I think that's part of the process Coach Cignetti loves and enjoys. You know, the scariest part for me as an Indiana football fan is when I do see those national pundits now giving attention to Indiana, because let's just throw a crazy scenario out there and say Indiana wins 9 or 10 games crazily. You know how much money it's going to cost to hang on to Curt Cignetti as a coach? And do you know how hard, not just the money aspect of it would be one thing. If you had a chance to leave Indiana and go to an SEC school, most coaches would consider that possibility. So I'm a little nervous if they are too successful in year one that he could potentially be a one and done.
I understand that the line of thinking, because it makes sense, because that's how things are. I don't, but his record, his history for him does say otherwise. A guy that's this good and this smart, there's no way he could not have been at someplace other than JMU before last season. And I don't know that he's I was talking to someone last night, and they was saying that, you know, he was not looking for a job when he got this Indiana job. And he said that. He goes, I'm not necessarily looking for a job. And I brought up, I said, you know, Florida's probably going to be calling. Florida, I mean, they may not be the only one, but Florida is definitely going to be testing the waters. Florida
State might be testing the waters.
Exactly. Mike Novell. Because those are tradition-rich programs, and they need it. They have everything going except for the winning part, and they may have access to Google, so they will be coming. But
and they may have access to a whole lot of money.
Yeah, I think Indiana fans will be okay. I think he's going to enjoy. I also think, though, on the other side of it, Curt Cignetti will love coming to a program. Going to a Florida and Florida State and revamping it is not like going to Indiana and turning them into something, because they've never really been it. They've had some runs, but they have never been a football power by any stretch of the imagination. And if you could do that, man, I think he's going to enjoy that and sit back and say, look what I created, as opposed to going to Florida and being, you know, resurrecting. There's a difference between resurrecting and creating, but I agree with everything you said. It makes sense, but I think he ends up staying just because they seem to enjoy it here. I can tell you this, the Bloomington community loves them, has welcomed them in. And once they can get a fan base that is more football oriented, I think it'll be more fun. The crowds are going to pick up, no doubt. As a matter of fact, expectations on a large crowd this weekend saved the weather having an impact on that, which would really suck, especially if there are a lot of people that are planning to go out. But let's hope that doesn't turn out to be the case. But we've got to take a break. We've got the shot doctor with us, Todd Leary. A lot of recruiting action this week and still to come. here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by our good friends from the Hard Truth Distilling Company and Free Think Apparel. Back with more from the Shot Father right after this.
Segment is brought to you by Hoosier Hanks East.
If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty at cheryl@indyhomepros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl@indyhomepros.com. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf Community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details.
Know a team or group needing a fundraiser? Boost Fundraising raises more money faster and offers the most unique and user-friendly online fundraiser in the nation. Your team receives personalized fundraising pages for each team member. Free team-branded promo gifts shipped to each donor. Boost Fundraising does it all. Sports teams, marching bands, charity causes, and community groups. Go to boostfundraising.com and be sure to enter the promo code COYLE, that's COYLE, to receive a discounted fundraiser.
Looking for someone to cater your next corporate event, family reunion, or tailgate? To some, a garnish may be nothing more than just a decoration put last on a plate. But in Bloomington, catering starts with Garnish Catering. Serving all of Bloomington and surrounding areas, Garnish Catering is waiting to help make your next event one to remember. Planning a great event shouldn't have to be stressful. Whether we quote you just for catering or a total event package, you can trust that you're making the right choice with Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of WOW Food Group.
In the market for a new or used vehicle? Well, nobody beats the prices and selection of Andy Moore Honda in Bloomington. Right now, get a brand new Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right, 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment-free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door.
Well, alrighty, no welcome back, but welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday. I hope you've had a great week and staying dry on this Friday as we're heading into the weekend. Man, how's the hurricane out there?
Well, we got the remnants of it here in Indiana. It is definitely pouring down rain, and I'm driving in it all day.
You're probably driving right through it. You're
driving in the middle. Right in the middle of it.
Yeah. That no fun. And I know it's dropping a lot of precipitation all around. Big weekend of week of recruiting in the state. Indiana landed Trent Sisley, which I'll be honest with you, going into it, as much as I've spent around them, I had no. It was like a 50-50 for me. I'm like, I don't know if it's Indiana or Purdue. I really didn't. And I didn't venture a guess, but that turned out in Indiana's favor. Then you had Jalen Harrelson, who was probably long trending for Indiana, but toward the end, Micah Shrewsbury seemed to really come in and come on hard and does a phenomenal job. He's a great coach, a great recruiter, a great guy. I was talking about this yesterday, Todd. It almost sucks for Indiana, state of Indiana fans, college basketball, because for IU fans, because at Purdue you've got Matt Painter. He's a great guy. It's hard to not like Matt Painter.
Right.
If you don't know him, it's probably not hard because he coaches at Purdue for fans. But if you've been around him, he's just a good guy. Micah Shrewsbury, maybe even better. Nicer guy. Another Hoosier, homegrown guy. And then, of course, you've got Mike Woodson coaching at Indiana, also from Indiana. I don't think there's any other state that has 3 flagship schools like that where your head coaches are from in-state. That's unique, but very Indiana.
Yeah, I mean, so to Sicily, on your first point, yeah. I mean, I think based on proximity of where he grew up, Indiana makes the most sense, and I think is a great fit for him and his family. One of the things I think a lot of fans overlook is when these decisions are made, a lot of times, you know, there are, or all the time, there should be a ton of factors involved in it. But one of those factors is your family and them being able to come see you play. And that was a huge decision, I think, or part of the decision for the Sicily family. And you know, they come in rolling heavy and strong. Like they bring a lot of people with them when they go watch games. So yeah, that's a great situation for Indiana. I think it makes the most sense. I'm happy for Trent and his family. I know his dad, Matt, is beyond ecstatic for this opportunity to be able to come to Bloomington and watch games for the next 3 or 4 years. And then, you know, when you go to the Jalen Harrelson situation, like, you know, I call it it's my Martian theory. And I love to quote the movie Moneyball. I also love to quote the movie The Martian. And in that, the way they sold Matt Damon on doing something when he was I don't even remember what planet he was on. I don't even remember what he was on, but was to be the fastest human to ever go on that planet. And so they called him a space pirate. And I think that's a theory for what they did with Jalen Harrelson. They told him he was going to be the first. He was going to be the highest recruit they ever had. He was going to be the first guy they ever had that was a 5-star. All the things going along with it. And
the guy. He's going to be the guy.
They sold it. And I don't like that's great
recruiting.
That's exactly what it is. And I don't think the fit is terrible. You can't talk to anyone in the coaching world about Micah Shrewsbury and have them say anything negative because he seems to be loved by everybody. So, yeah, I mean, the situation just worked out. So he's going to be, you know, the first basketball pirate up in South Bend.
Who, Matt Damon was on Mars on that movie, by the way.
Mars, yeah, my bad. I'm sorry.
I'm
driving in the pouring rain.
I was just laughing because he popped up. Skylar popped that up, and I just thought it was funny.
I didn't want to say Mars and then have people be like, "It wasn't Mars, you moron!" Like
I wouldn't know. I wasn't getting on you. I'm just laughing because it popped it up there so quick. I'm like, "Oh my god, that's hilarious!"
Thank you.
I found that to be hilarious.
But they sold Matt Damon on the fact that he was going to be the fastest person to ever go on Mars. And I mean, I use that in different analogies of things all the time. Like, I get it. Like, you want to be the first, the best, the fastest, the biggest, the whatever. And he's the highest recruit they've ever had. And so I get it.
Well, it's the highest recruit a lot of people would have had. He's I think it's still a top 10 guy, or is he right outside of that? But anyway.
I think he was like 23 or 4, isn't he?
I think he's outside of the top 10, but inside of the top 20. It depends on what you're looking at.
Yeah.
Right. There's a composite and all of that stuff, but a great recruit. And Notre Dame is going to become a player in this state sooner rather than later.
You've got Micah Shrewsbury that's going to start recruiting this state, or has already started recruiting the state successfully. He's also has your favorite Mark Zachary that's going to be on his roster from this summer's Indiana Elite team, but he's going to be playing quarterback for the Fighting Irish on Saturdays first. Oh man, what else was I going to say? Then you've got Dusty May up at Michigan, who is going to be coming into Indiana, and I guarantee you he'll have success. Tom Izzo already has success at Michigan State.
McCaffrey's at Iowa.
Yep, and then even the Dukes, the North Carolina is a finalist for Braylon Mullins right now. So Indiana is always going to be under attack, but it gets worse when you've got 3 places inside of the state, and that doesn't include if Butler's able to get back.
I was just getting ready to say you're way overlooking Thad Matta and his ability to recruit, because, and I'm not saying you're overlooking it. I get what you're saying when you talk about the big 3. For whatever reason, even though with all the success that Butler has had,
Butler's had more success than all the other 3 combined.
Than all of them, I know.
In the last 25
but for whatever reason, like they just kind of get overlooked a little bit because they're a smaller. I'm assuming because they're a smaller school.
Yes.
And
smaller conference.
They've been overshadowed by UConn recently and all that. So but Butler's in that conversation also. Thad Matta is not just a great guy; he's a great recruiter, and he used to recruit the state of Indiana when he took Odin Conley out of here to Ohio State. Like he is very comfortable in recruiting around here.
Absolutely, and successful in doing that. But but there's also a lot to go around, especially today. High school recruiting, I talked about this yesterday. It's just not that important to me anymore to a degree. There are certain guys that you want and kind of need to get from an optics standpoint.
Totally.
There are certain guys. Now, Trent Sisley's kind of different because he covers a lot of the boxes. He covers the optics, first of all. He's a Southern Indiana kid. Indiana needs to keep that area of the state locked down. But he is a multi-dimensional player. He's a probable 4-year player that is going to potentially impact a little bit in his first year, but that is going to increase each and every year. He's going to be a productive member of the team. That getting a player like that from in-state is huge. So you've got to have a couple of those guys, but with the portal being there, I will take an experienced, proven guy every day over a freshman recruit that is coming into college. So I'm never going to end up in a position, or I wouldn't, like Matt Painter did last year he had 6 incoming freshmen until he lost one of them, but half of his roster this season, more than half, will be underclassmen. That's it. When you bring in 6 new guys, that's the problem you're going to have. And in this era of teams being able to add guys that have great experience, I don't think that's a position you want to be in.
Yeah, I mean, it's just a different way of building your program, and I don't necessarily agree with what you're saying. Like, I don't think it's
good.
It puts you at a disadvantage. Yeah, I mean, we don't always have to agree, but I mean, I think that they built their program differently, obviously. And here's the argument you can make for that scenario is I think we will all agree, and the difference may end up being worse rather than better. But I think we would all agree that the NIL situation and the way that the portal has worked out and all that, I don't think that's going to stay the way it is. I think it's going to change. Now, it's not going to change like next season, but it's over the next 3 or 4 or 5 years, I think we'll see that gradually change to where it's not quite as easy to transfer as it is right now. And I think COVID years played a factor in all that. I think some lawsuits and different things played a factor in that. But I think it'll settle to the point where it's a little more stable than it is now. And when that's the case, then I think a culture like what Purdue has now has a gigantic advantage. But when it's just a Wild West free-for-all and you can basically go wherever you want, whenever you want, it's probably going to set them to a little bit of a disadvantage over some schools that do have the ability to just go pluck a new roster every year out of the portal. And so I can see what you're saying, and I don't disagree with that side of it. I don't agree with, I think it's going to have long-term effects because, one, Matt Painter has proven his culture is good and they're going to develop teams. I'm excited to see them play, to be honest with you, without Zach Edey. The one factor that I do think gets overlooked, and I've coached at a much lower level, but I think coaches would agree with this, is yes, Edey, everyone would want Edey on your team. Every GM, every coach, every athletic director, everyone would want Edey on your team. But that doesn't make it easy to coach. And they were a little bit hamstrung in things that they could do and things they could run because of Zach Edey. Now, they were able to do a lot of things because of Zach Edey in a positive way, but they were also a little limited in some of the things they could do with Zach Edey, especially prior to his senior year. He became much more mobile his senior year. And that's what I'll be interested to see what Purdue looks like this year. Will they be a more fast-paced team? Like, what will they be like? And I'm not saying they'll be better. I'm just saying they'll be different, but I'm not sure it's going to be a lot worse.
Absolutely. Getting back to Hoosier basketball a little bit, someone asked about what IU guards are one and done. And then Russell pointed out that ESPN currently has Kanan Carlisle. It's not Kanan. It's Kanan or something. I think it's Kanan. I've heard someone. I've been saying Kanan, but Kanan Carlisle is ranked ahead of Mackenzie Mbako, and Russell comments that he doesn't know what their thinking is there. Well, I can tell you exactly. What is Mackenzie Mbako's liability? Defense. That is the difference. And that's why. But that's two different positions.
I was just getting ready to say, like, Mackenzie Mbako's, I'll call it weakness as defense, NBA doesn't care. The NBA doesn't care about his defense at all. If he can put the ball in the basket at the level that we think Mackenzie Mbako will be able to, they don't care about his defense.
Yeah, but he has to show that he can do that consistently. He did at the beginning and the end of the season.
I agree with you. I totally agree with you. I think Mackenzie Mbako is the X factor in exactly how good Indiana is. And I think they're going to be good regardless. But when you get Mackenzie Mbako, if he's able to make that leap and that jump, I'm telling Indiana's a top 3, 4, 5 team in the country, not the Big Ten. And I firmly believe that. Now, I'm putting a lot of weight on a kid who had an okay freshman year, but really I think showed a lot of positives and good signs towards the end of his freshman year. And we will all, I think, agree, kids' sophomore years a lot of times are the toughest. So I'm putting a lot of weight on a kid that's going to have a lot of pressure on him and a lot of factors against him. But I think Malik Renew, I think, we could write down on paper right now what stat line we're going to get out of him for the end of the year, for, averaging over the year. He's going to have huge games and all that. And I think we'd be pretty close to nailing down what we're going to get out of him. I think Mackenzie Mbako has a much wider range and margin of what we would all put down for what we think we could expect out of him. And if he's on the top end of that in scoring, Indiana's got a chance at being super good.
Absolutely. Well, brother, I hope you have safe travels today.
I
appreciate you as always. I hope you enjoy tomorrow. Georgia, a favorite in Tuscaloosa. I don't know how the hell that's happening. I'm going to have to maybe pull up a bet and take Alabama.
Don't do it.
I can't see Kayla DeBoer getting beat at home, man.
Go down.
Did you know this breaks a streak of over 100 and something, like 110 games that Alabama has been favored at home?
I mean, I'm a Georgia fan. I've watched every minute of every game of both teams. I don't understand how Georgia's favored, to be honest with you. If it was at Georgia, I would understand it. I do not understand how they're favored, but go Dogs. Or they know something.
I did a quick rundown. If just averaging 7 home games a year, that goes back well over 15 and a half years.
You could probably line that up with the Nick Saban era. Pretty
Bingo.
closely.
The shot finder, Todd Leary from myjumpshot.com. Make sure you check that out. If you are a kid, know a kid, have a kid that can use some assistance on improving their game, that's how you do it. Todd Leary, thank you, brother. Appreciate you.
You're the best. Love you. Thanks.
You betcha. Back with more on Indiana Sports Beat Radio from the Hard Truth Studios right after this.
This segment is brought to you by the Fresh Fork in Bloomington.
In the market for a new or used vehicle? Well, nobody beats the prices and selection of Andy Moore Honda in Bloomington. Right now, get a brand new Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right, 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door.
Looking for someone to cater your next corporate event, family reunion, or tailgate? To some, a garnish may be nothing more than just a decoration put last on a plate. But in Bloomington, catering starts with Garnish Catering. Serving all of Bloomington and surrounding areas, Garnish Catering is waiting to help make your next event one to remember. Planning a great event shouldn't have to be stressful. Whether we quote you just for catering or a total event package, you can trust that you're making the right choice with Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of WOW Food Group.
If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty at cheryl@indyhomepros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl at indyhomepros.com. Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer. The Ugly Grouper, located on beautiful Anna Marie Island, Florida, is the place to be, and not just because they have unforgettable meals, including locally sourced seafood. The Ugly Grouper has your favorite craft beers and cocktails, along with live music every day. The Ugly Grouper is family-friendly, able to host private parties, and has the biggest grouper you've ever seen. The Ugly Grouper is the place to be on Anna Marie Island, Florida. Tell them Indiana Sports Beat sent you. Go to theuglygrouper.com for more information.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf Community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details. This segment is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville.
Welcome back to the Hard Truth Distilling Company Studios. Indiana Sports Beat Radio on this Friday. It is week 5 of the college football season. And this week in the Big Ten, couple of games on tap. Now, there is a game tonight that you can watch, which I will be doing as the rain is falling. And this is going to be an interesting game. You have an undefeated Rutgers team who has looked pretty decent at the start of this season. Greg Schiano has the Scarlet Knights playing well. They welcome in new Big Ten member Washington. The Huskies are 3-1, but that one is a big old loss to Washington State, who hammered Washington in Seattle. I think Rutgers goes to 5-0, people. Rutgers. We're talking about Indiana getting its first 5-0 start in 57 years. Rutgers, 5-0. Look out. I expect that. They are just a 1.5-point favorite, though. Tight game. Tomorrow, back up in the big house, Michigan should have a much easier go of it this week as they welcome in the Minnesota Golden Gophers. And PJ Fleck's squad, I think they seem to be rowing the boat in circles right now. So Michigan, a 10-point favorite. Whether they cover that, how well, I'm not sure. They've got quarterback issues. They don't throw the ball, but they run the ball pretty well. The UCLA Bruins are back at home, only to be an underdog again. But this time, instead of 2.5 points to Indiana, it's 25.5 to Oregon. You know, the way UCLA played against at LSU in Death Valley, they lose by 17 there. You know what? I'm good. I would strongly consider taking UCLA in that game. Now, here is a big time game this weekend. Number 19 Illinois travels to Happy Valley to take on number 9 Penn State. Zach Osterman waiting for us. I didn't even see that. I apologize. Let me get back over here. Zach, I am so sorry. I did not see you waiting for me. I hope you're doing well.
No, yeah, sorry. I ducked out and back in. I was having some not sure what was going on. I was having some volume issues, so figured it'd be easier to just restart.
Perfect. Yeah, I had that happen to me every day in my life, it seems like. Already been a busy morning talking with Todd Leary about the weekend recruiting, of course. You win some, you lose some. Indiana gets a great recruit in Trent Sisley that checks a lot of boxes as far as an in-state kid. He's a 3 or 4 year kid. He is a multi-dimensional player that can fill different roles. He is the type of player that Indiana fans are really going to be drawn to. So that's going to cover a lot of that. And he's going to be productive. I think he's a guy that's going to be productive. Now, I don't know how much would be expected of him in his freshman year, but he is going to be someone that contributes as he goes through his career at Indiana.
Yeah, I mean, that's certainly what you hope if you're IU. And as you said, I think he's, I think a lot of people project him as more of a 3 or 4 year player rather than somebody that maybe comes in and clicks right away. I'm intrigued. I'm always intrigued by guys, and I don't know if this sounds, like a weird one or not. I'm always intrigued by guys that are ranked early in their careers and really seem to live up to it. And I know he's ranked a little higher. I think he was ranked in like the 30s early in his career. Now he's more of kind of a 70s, 80s player. But the point is he's had to spend the last 2-3 years running around with a target on his back. He was highly thought of as a very young player, obviously very successful leading scorer in Heritage Hill's history, even though he left Vermont Verde after 3 seasons. And you and I both have been around recruiting long enough to know when kids like that go to AAU tournaments, other kids try to prove themselves against them and things like that. And it's never really seemed to slow him down. It's never seemed to sort of like, I don't know if the word is overcome him, or I'm not sure, it's never seemed to kind of weigh on him like baggage. And I think that's important. I think it says something about a kid's, frankly, just kind of his character, his ability to handle kind of some of that stuff. I think, obviously, when you talk about his game, you're going to want to see his 3-point shot keep coming along. It's there. You want it to be able to translate to the next level. And then when you talk about the other end of the floor, I think the intriguing thing for Sisley, and I think one of the things that's probably worth paying, fairly close attention to when he's playing an elite schedule at Montverde, is his ability to defend multiple positions. Because, I think about him and I'm not this isn't necessarily sort of an exact player comparison, but when I watch his film, when I hear people talk about him, I think a little bit about Christian Watford. And obviously Watford's career isn't perfectly linear because Indiana had to ask him to do some stuff, kind of early in his career that was, maybe playing the post more, maybe start as kind of more of a hybrid 4-5 type, which isn't obviously really what Watford, is that was never going to be his long-term position. That was just kind of where Indiana was from a positional perspective at that time. But a player that as he sort of matures can guard multiple positions, can potentially become the kind of player that maybe is a little bit more of a wing at times, but isn't afraid to take smaller defenders down into the post. And the other thing, and you talked about, maybe him being projected as more of a 3 or 4 year guy. I think the other thing too is even in the portal era, you're always going to want those players. You're always going to want, guys that are kind of anchoring presences in your locker room. We've seen the value of a Trey Galloway, of a Race Thompson, I think sometimes we don't assign this kind of value to a star player, but a Trace Jackson Davis, and Anthony Leal. Those players do a lot for you, and even in an era, maybe even more so in an era when you are switching out your roster pieces constantly. You've got guys leaving for the pros. You got portal. There's, you're looking at, I think anymore, even the Big Ten programs for the most part are probably looking at least 4 or 5 roster spots turning over a year at least. When you're looking at when that's what you're kind of talking about, it feels really relevant, even, really to me, even more relevant, frankly, to have the kinds of players that, again, provide sort of that anchoring presence in your locker room. And I think, what you hope if you're Indiana is that Trent Sisley turns out to be one of those players.
Absolutely. And Jalen Harrelson, not getting him is not really a big surprise. Indiana is kind of currently stocked in the guard position. I know that's going to change after this season, but we don't know how that will change. And the guys that are expected to be a major part of that might still be here, although Kenan Carlisle is mentioned in some NBA mock drafts, which is a little surprising. But you're also going to have the potential of having Braylon Mullins here. I don't know if daggone it. Jalen is just going to, if he just wants to play point guard, and that is his goal to be a point guard, to head in that direction and try to get to the next level. And I know that he wants to be a one and done, which I know a lot of people want to be a one and done, but he has the physical tools to do that.
Yeah. I also just think, like you said, you're not going to win every one. And I do wonder, if in his most honest moments, Mike Woodson might look at this one and feel a little bit more like, this was maybe one that he really wanted, because obviously Indiana offered Jalen Harrelson, I think, basically about as early as anybody. And, you always want, the ones you invest in the most are the ones that ultimately are probably going to be the toughest to lose, or the toughest to kind of give up on, so to speak. But at the same time, I think more than ever before, and I don't know exactly, I'm not comfortable, at least I'm not yet comfortable sort of declaring, what I think is the best method of roster building in the portal era and the NIL era. And obviously we're about to shake all that up again when we get revenue sharing. So, we'll kind of see where all this settles out. I think we're going to need at least 4 or 5 years of kind of data that we can sort through and sift through and say this works and this doesn't, and so forth.
Go ahead.
No, but I was just going to say I'm not saying you shouldn't recruit high school players. I still do think, as I said, number one, you're going to want guys from your own state. Number two, you're going to want players that, as I said, kind of underpin, some of what you're trying to do from from sort of a chemistry perspective and a roster perspective and those sorts of things. Number three, there will always be an extent to which you need to recognize there are just talented players in high school, and maybe there are more proven players in the portal, but there are still guys that can help you in high school. But I just don't know if we know yet what is the best formula, so to speak, for essentially just like, when is it time to really hammer on a high school class and say, we got to get 2, 3 guys, 4 guys out of this class? It's got to happen. And when is it time to just sort of say, okay, but we've got we got strong NIL resources. We've got the portal we can lean on. That's kind of our priority, so to speak. Because I think about last year when Indiana put so much effort into that 2024 class and in the end came up with nothing. And then it just took all of those resources into the portal and built what looks like one of the more talented rosters in the Big Ten. So my point is, I understand anybody who's going to get frustrated at losing a recruit. I understand anybody who's going to get frustrated at losing an in-state recruit. I know that's important to IU fans, and I understand why. But there is, for the first time, there is kind of a different there's a different solution if you need one, if you understand what I'm saying. And
absolutely. It's become so much less important as far as actually getting the production of what you want to see. And I actually responded to someone yesterday and said, I understand how important it is for Indiana fans to see Indiana kids. And I get it. It makes sense. You want that to a degree. But the days of having half your roster from Indiana, that's over. And it should be over. Or you just need to decide as a fan, do you want a team that is winning, competing for Big Ten and national championships? Or do you want an Indiana all-star team? It's that simple, because you can't have both. You have to have an elite team to compete at the elite level. In my meager research, and it just goes back the last 6 years, Zach, no team that's won the national championship has had less than 4 NBA draft picks on the roster of the team that won the title. And that's where it's gone. You've got to have that level of talent to win, because there's always going to be at least 1 or 2 teams like UConn in the last 2 years who not only had that, but replaced it when they lost it. So you have to have some elite talent if you're going to be elite.
You do. And I mean, listen, I poked through something and I forget exactly what the numbers were, but I poked through something around basically Indiana's last of Indiana's, like, I think I want to say it was of all the 1,000-point scorers Indiana had since the turn of the century, more than half of them have been out-of-state recruits. And that's not to say there aren't good players in the state. And that's not to say there haven't been good players in the state that Indiana missed on, whether they recruited them or not, whether they were priorities for whatever staff was in place at that time, or they weren't, whether they were highly rated recruits or they weren't, whatever. That's not to say there aren't guys that could have helped Indiana that Indiana missed on within the state. I just, I think that this idea that sort of, especially in the portal era, when those guys can move around more easily if they want to, the idea that all of this can just kind of be done with, just kids from Indiana or just kids from the Big Ten footprint, or maybe let's say the traditional Big Ten footprint, because obviously, things have changed up there. But the idea that we can, that any team can build purely off in-state players or no transfers. I mean, geez, even look at Purdue. Purdue has gotten tons of credit, and rightly so, for the way that it's recruited the state of Indiana in recent years. And Purdue's had some great contributors. I fully expect Braden Smith to be Big Ten preseason player of the year when all those things are announced next week around media days. But Zach Edey's from Canada. Carson Edwards from Texas. You know, Lance Jones was a transfer that Matt Painter would tell you made an enormous difference for the Boilermakers last season. So it's, you know, even a program that I think a lot of Indiana fans point to at times when Indiana's struggling in recruiting and says, well, they can do it. What, you know, how can we take a lesson from them? It's not exclusive. You know, Matt Painter is still willing to go where the talent is that he knows he needs. And, you know, it's just kind of generally speaking, like, it's never going to be an absolute situation, if you understand what I'm saying.
Absolutely. But Zach, I appreciate you as always, my friend. I will see you tomorrow at a soggy Memorial Stadium.
I do suspect it will be very soggy.
Absolutely. Have a great day, and I hope all things are going well, buddy. Thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me, as always.
You bet. Zach Osterman from the Indy Star, the insider for the Indy Star on Indiana, the Indiana Beat. Up next, the return of Jeffrey the Greek, as we'll talk Big Ten, IU football, and much more from the Hard Truth Studios right after this.
Segment is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg.
Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off your first order.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouth-watering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Looking for someone to cater your next corporate event, family reunion, or tailgate? To some, a garnish may be nothing more than just a decoration put last on a plate. But in Bloomington, catering starts with Garnish Catering. Serving all of Bloomington and surrounding areas, Garnish Catering is waiting to help make your next event one to remember. Planning a great event shouldn't have to be stressful. Whether we quote you just for catering or a total event package, you can trust that you're making the right choice with Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of WOW Food Group.
If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty at cheryl@indyhomepros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl@indyhomepros.com. In the market for a new or used vehicle? Well, nobody beats the prices and selection of Andy Moore Honda in Bloomington. Right now, get a brand new Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right, 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment-free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door.
This segment is brought to you by Hoosier Hanks East.
Welcome back to the Hard Truths is Still at Company Studios on this Friday, a football Friday. Appreciate you being with us. It's a special day.
Hello.
Well, that part is not part of you, but I didn't know that was coming. But I just found a Jimmy the Greek song. We've got Jeffrey.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Gotcha.
It's been a while, baby. It's been a minute.
I know. I'm still alive.
Way too long.
Still alive. Yep.
Way too long.
Busier than I've ever been, but still alive.
Busier than a one-legged man in a butt-kicking contest.
Yep.
Since we've had the pleasure of having you on, there are no more divisions in Big Ten football, baby. We don't have to talk about that weak Big Ten West anymore. I can't talk about that.
Right into it. The Big Ten West has been dead, and you go right back to it.
I love it. People, if you don't remember, there was nothing that I could get under Jeffrey the Greek's skin. Just just like I was twisting a hot knife with that right there. Some fun of the other days. Okay, but now is this going to be harder with no divisions? Because I've talked about, I think that there are potentially going to be up to four teams that are 11-1 or better this Big Ten season because of how a lot of people's schedules play out. Even though I don't see Oregon as a top 10 team, they haven't shown that to me yet, although they are in the top 10. Their schedule is set up nicely. I think they play Ohio State, but that's the toughest. Well, obviously the toughest game, but they've got a very manageable schedule. I don't know that Michigan still has a tough way to go, even though they won that big game over USC. Iowa is kind of, if you already have a lot, well, it's not a Big Ten loss, so they're still good to go at the moment. But even Illinois is in this conversation, and I would have lost money if you'd have come to me before the season and said, all right, I'm going to bet Illinois is going to be one of the top teams. I'd have said, come on. I didn't know what they were going to be, but I was not expecting this at all. I damn sure did not expect them to go in to Lincoln and knock off the Cornhuskers on their 400th sellout.
Yeah, there's been some surprises of the season. Obviously, one of the bigger surprises is the Hoosiers, which I'm excited to talk about. I mean, I don't think we're going to have 4 11-1 teams. We'll probably have 2, maybe 3 teams 11-1 or better in the Big Ten. Those 3 would almost for sure get into the college football playoffs.
Absolutely.
And, speaking of the divisions, if I would say it in typical conference follies, we should be in divisions now. This is when we should be in divisions.
Yes,
18 friggin' teams. You, as I joke on the Eyes on Big podcast, if you print out a list of the Big Ten standings, it looks like a CVS receipt. It's so long. There's so many dang teams. We should cut them in half and put them in divisions because this is absolutely ridiculous.
Not only do I agree with you, I've been putting out the weekly Big Ten Power Index, and it takes me an hour and a half to do that. And that's after doing the first one, which I already have a template. And it still takes me an hour and a half. And damn it, I did this week's yesterday, and it didn't save. And I was so mad that I have to rewrite it today, but I was not going to do that yesterday. That was an hour and a half of work down the drain. But yeah, no question that you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's only 6 teams in the entire Big Ten after just 4 games that have a shot of going undefeated, which that's not going to happen. But there's only 6 teams left that have no losses in the conference. Well, that's not true. Ohio State hasn't played. Oregon, so there's several teams that haven't played. But anyway, in Illinois, what a surprise. Indiana is a surprise to most people. I am not one of them. Used to Indiana not being good, but going into this season, if you were here and if you were covering the team, you knew this is different. This is not.
Yep.
This is not your. I've the phrase I've used. I said, this is not your grandfather's. This is not your father's. This is not even your older brother's Indiana football program.
Right.
This is something different, and IU fans are still grappling with the fact that they actually have a successful program. But we're only 4 games in right now. Indiana going for their first 5-0 start in 57 years, Jeff.
Wow, that's the number. Okay.
I mean, that's crazy stuff. They've already broken a 123-year-old scoring record. They've broken the record for yardage in a game at over 700. Their coach is the first Indiana coach to start his tenure 4-0. See what else is going on. They're the first team in the country to reach 200 points scoring. They're one of 5 programs that have a top 10 scoring offense and defense. 4 of those programs are ranked in the top 10. The other one is Indiana.
Right.
So we'll see. They'll get their chance. It sucked that Nebraska lost to Illinois for Indiana's perspective, but they'll get their chance. How surprised are you? You're very in tune to the Big Ten, but you're a little more west and covering Iowa, covering those teams. Even you probably surprised a little bit.
I'm not more west. We've covered all teams in the Big Ten, every single one of them from the beginning of
us. You're west,
right? But it doesn't make. As far as coverage is concerned, whether the program's next door to me or states away, it doesn't make any difference. But
well, tell me about what you think, my brother.
I was on multiple interviews and podcasts, my podcast on Twitter, whenever somebody would ask me, what's your surprise team of the year back in, July, August, I would always say Indiana. I would say Kirk Cinetti is an amazing coach. I think there are pieces there that people don't realize. And then I would look at the schedule. And I remember we do team previews for, again, all 18 teams, Jim, we do all 18 team previews, okay? Not just the teams in the West, okay?
I know you're a big Iowa guy.
Well, I don't know what you're talking about. And so we would, and I remember looking at the schedule, and I think we were 6-7 games into into Indiana's schedule. And I would say, which one of these games is an automatic loss? You couldn't find one, don't get me wrong. A lot of them were toss-ups. I would consider this weekend's game a toss-up game for Indiana, but I saw it. I predicted Indiana 6-6, which was still higher than most people. I mean, most people had them 4-8 or worse. I kind of wish at one point when I went through my schedules, I had them 7-5. I'm kind of kicking myself that I didn't wind with that prediction, for where Indiana can wind up. So it's looked amazing. Curtis Rourke, I talked about in the offseason, was one of the best pickups in the Big Ten. It hardly anybody seemed to be talking about it. He fits exactly what Cignetti and Tino Sensori want to do. It's been fun to watch. And I love having Hoosier football fans. I want to be specific, Hoosier football fans back in the fold, because they're not a group of fans that takes anything for granted. When the football team's having success, they're a ton of fun. So it's been fun to watch.
Yeah, it was just fun to watch. I love seeing teams rise up. Like when Kansas made their rise a couple of years ago, I thought that was a blast. But I'm loving college football overall because there are so many. The portal has really kind of equalized a lot of things. Of course, you still got the great teams, but I think there are so many teams now that have a chance. Indiana, Illinois. I did not expect Illinois to do what they're doing. But that's what makes it fun to watch these teams that you don't expect to pop up and year in, and you just don't know. So that I think it's going to make it fun. We will. I don't know if the Big Ten can the Big Ten get 4 teams into the college football playoffs this year.
It's going to be tight. I think so. It would be. I mean, it seems like Ohio State, Oregon, and Penn State. I don't want to say locked, but they're highly, percentage chances that they would get into the playoffs. So, who would that 4th team be? It's going to be a team that either, is a surprise team. I would say it's a surprise team no matter what for how it winds up. If Michigan can make it in for how they look overall, that would be a surprise for them to get in. But Michigan's path to get in is pretty straightforward. They got to go 10-2 and just, win all the games and then split Oregon and Ohio State. They would get in for sure. If Indiana, Illinois, Iowa, if any of those teams can finish 11-1, they're definitely in, or 10-2, they would give themselves a chance to get it in. So those are all surprise teams. Nebraska would be right up there as well. So there is, a grab bag of surprise teams. Unfortunately, most of those teams I just named aren't blue blood teams, so they will get punished accordingly. Indiana should be ranked right now. We've said it on the podcast for 2 weeks. If Indiana had an SEC logo on their jersey, they would absolutely be ranked right now. Or if they were a blue blood, it's all very frustrating. So, it's going to be predominantly SEC and Big Ten teams in the college football playoff. But if you're one of those teams I just listed, you want some SEC teams to start, cannibalizing each other and get into that 9-3 zone, because if it's a 10-2 Indiana against a 10-2 Ole Miss, whatever, it's going to be a tough situation for that team to get in.
Exactly. That's part of the reason why an Indiana isn't ranked at the moment, because of what's on the front of their jersey. And on one hand, I get it, but the other hand, I don't, because so many times I see the media fall in love with a darling team, and I'm like going, well, what's wrong with this team? They're just, I guess when you have that much proof that your program has sucked, that it just takes a lot more to get through to people, but that's okay. That makes it easier, man, because you're that gives you a chip on your shoulder, and they'll get a chance this week as they take on a tough a Maryland team that is one of those teams that you can't overlook. You should be, you cannot overlook them, because they have a very solid offense, and they have an offense that can get up and down the field and can score points.
Yeah, I mean, I am stoked for this game. 11 o'clock a.m. game. This will be one of my favorite ones to check out in that early window. 11 o'clock a.m. my 10 noon your guys' time. This is the best team that both teams have played. It's a little bit bigger step up for Maryland as compared to Michigan State. This is a huge step up for the Hoosiers compared to anybody they've played. The Hoosiers got a good got a Big Ten win. That's always good, but I think we've seen UCLA is not ready for the big time right now, and I don't see it happening anytime soon. But this is definitely the best team.
Baton Rouge, not to interrupt you, brother.
Yep. I mean, they looked okay. I don't think LSU is all that good. Is my take on that. But
Death Valley, after getting your head handed to you at home, I thought that was going to be that or worse in Death Valley. But boy, when I saw that 17-17 halftime score, I'm like, what the hell?
Mm-hmm. But they got shut out 17-0 in the second half, and that's what matters.
Yes, they did.
The bar is so low for UCLA that only getting beat by 17 is supposedly supposed to surprise people. I don't think that bodes well for how strong UCLA is. But long story short, this is an awesome matchup. Maryland, Indiana. I would be shocked if there's not points on the board. Locks can scheme up plays. Like, I saw a couple holes defensively start to show for the Hoosiers in the last couple weeks, especially the last week. So Locks will take advantage of that. Yep.
Was that in the run game, run defense?
Mostly run game. And Maryland hasn't been a strong running team, but Locks will, if it's a hat on hat game, that does not favor Maryland. If it's a schemed up running play, which is what you saw last week versus the Hoosiers defense, that Locks can do. They've got capable running backs, Maryland. So that's what I see. I see points on the board, but on the other side, Maryland's defense is much improved, but I don't see this being such a level of defense that Cignetti and Rourke and the crew that they can't take advantage of. So 7 points seems like quite a bit. I like Maryland and the points, but I like Indiana to take the win. I've got 30 to 27 in that game, but would it surprise me if Indiana ran away with it? It would not at all. But I think the Terps are going to come to play.
Now the weather is potentially going to play an impact or play a role in this game and impact it and force it to become a more of a running game, depending on what the situation is. We've got the hurricane that's coming up, the rain. If it's raining like cats and dogs during the game, well, it's probably going to limit your passing. But both teams throw the ball well. I think Indiana does a better job because they have like 7 or 8 different targets that Curtis Rourke is getting per game. And that's the thing. They're like, and then when they run the ball, they've got 7 or 8 guys that are running the ball. So it's crazy. It's a multifaceted, multi-dimensional offense. And that is what is an advantage to Indiana. Maryland's a little more streamlined. Of course, but hey, they're still successful. And Kurt Cignetti knows Billy Edwards Jr. very well. He recruited him, tried to get him a JMU, and he knows he's talented. So, and then they've got the Felton kid who has had 4 straight 100-yard receiving games. So he's going to be someone that Indiana has to lock down. But I will say this for Indiana's defense, Greek, they're giving up less than 10 points per game, but more importantly, 1.5 points per game in the second half. That is what's mind-boggling to me, because usually when you give up points at the second half, at the end, all that. No, not for Indiana. They go into the halftime and seem to make an adjustment and fix and lock it down.
And I would say it's that, along with the other team just packing their bags at that point and ready to go home. So that's going to change now, obviously. I mean, I don't mean to beat the drum that I know Indiana fans have heard, but you know, it's been a lackluster, shall we say, schedule up to this point. So it's gonna change in a hurry here pretty quick. So I'm trying to manage expectations a little bit for Hoosier fans, just in case, you know, Indiana gets behind in this game. It doesn't mean the game's over and the season's over. It just means it's time to battle back. And I think we have enough proof that Cignetti is a mentally tough dude and has impressed upon that his team, you know, so I expect them to respond well if they get hit with some adversity, but I also do expect adversity in this game because Maryland's pretty good. I don't know how Maryland's not 4-0. I don't know how they gave that Michigan State game away. That was a, you know, a statistical anomaly that they even had that game tied, let alone lose it. So, but this is a great game. I mean, this is arguably my favorite game on the Big Ten ledger this entire weekend.
It's definitely going to be it's an important game for both. Obviously, both of these teams need this win because Indiana does not want to break what they have going on. Maryland already has a Big Ten loss. They don't want to add another one, especially this early in the season. And keep that momentum going. Oh man, there was something else I was going to say. Your Iowa Hawkeyes, they've been up and down. Man, they'll have one game where they're just wow, they look like the old Iowa Hawkeyes, and then the Iowa State game they had that one won and they kind of lose it at the end, which that is common for things to happen like that. But where are the Hawkeyes right now offensively? Every 1 week I think that, okay, wow, man, Iowa's got big offense, boom, and then they get slowed down to 19 points. It's back and forth, but they're obviously one of the better teams, a bowl team. So where's Iowa?
I mean, I overall feel really good about Iowa. I kind of keep saying the same thing to everybody. If a 54-yard last-second field goal goes wide right instead of goes through, Iowa's 4-0, probably close to the top 10. And we're not having these conversations. The defense is excellent. The special teams are excellent.
As always.
The rushing attack now is excellent. So, if you give me those things, I feel like most teams in the Big Ten can win a lot of games. The passing efficiency needs to come along for sure. It's never going to be a downfield, put 60 points on the board offense. That's not how KF wants to do things. But if Cade can stay healthy and they can get some sort of rhythm in the passing game, they're going to be really tough to beat.
Yeah, you cannot ever count out the Hawkeyes, as they are one of the most consistent programs in college football. And that, I'm talking a long time. We've got to take a break. When we come back, we're going to talk about the Big Ten schedule this weekend, get the Greeks picked. And before I will forever, and I've said it many times, when Indiana played UCLA, I'm not a huge bettor, but the fact that I was running around so much, traveling to California, I didn't think to bet that game. I should have bet every nickel I owned, because I knew
you were confident
that
Indiana
was going to win by 3 touchdowns. And with a 2.5 point spread, you don't get those opportunities very often.
For sure.
And I'm like, it'll haunt me the rest of my life. But we've got Jeffrey the Greek with us, back with more from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios right after this. Indiana Sports Beat Radio is brought to you by the fine folks at the Hard Truth Distilling Company, including Big Woods Restaurants and Quaffon Beers. You can find their great products in your area. If not, ask for Hard Truth. Their great products like their Hard Road Rye, Sweet Mash Bourbon, or the Toasted Coconut Rum. Ask for the Hard Truth.
Hey, Jim, can I talk?
In the market for a new or used vehicle? Well, nobody beats the prices and selection of Andy Moore Honda in Bloomington. Right now, get a brand new Honda with no payments for 90 days. That's right, 2023 and 2024 Honda Pilots, HRVs, CRVs, Honda Ridgelines, payment-free for 90 days. Or get 0.9% APR financing for 36 months on a 2023 Honda Ridgeline. Go to AndyMooreHonda.com and get more to your door. If you're looking for a home in the Indianapolis area, you need Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Cheryl Sizemore has over 2 decades of experience, and that could be the difference in you getting the home you want in today's tough housing market. Reach out to Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty at Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com or 317-298-0961. Cheryl Sizemore from RE/MAX Advanced Realty. Let Cheryl Sizemore get you in the home you want today. Cheryl@IndyHomePros.com.
Looking for someone to cater your next corporate event, family reunion, or tailgate? To some, a garnish may be nothing more than just a decoration put last on a plate. But in Bloomington, catering starts with Garnish Catering. Serving all of Bloomington and surrounding areas, Garnish Catering is waiting to help make your next event one to remember. Planning a great event shouldn't have to be stressful. Whether we quote you just for catering or a total event package, you can trust that you're making the right choice with Garnish Catering. Visit garnishcatering.com. That's garnishcatering.com. Garnish Catering is a proud partner of WOW Food Group.
Whether it's a night out with the family, after work with colleagues, or catching the game with friends, Bubba's 33 is the place for you. Bubba's 33 offers a mouthwatering menu of selections that are all made from scratch every day. The portions are big, but the prices are small. And with over 50 big screen TVs, you'll never miss the big game. Bubba's 33, pizza, burgers, beer.
Country living is just a swing away. It can be hard to find the exact home that fits your family's needs, so there couldn't be a better time to build a new home with Property Shore Construction. Now building exclusively south of Bloomington within the Stonecrest Golf Community. Choose from one of the gorgeous Stonecrest Signature Series house plans. We have several lots available with scenic views of the golf course. Contact Amy Rhoda with Revesco Real Estate for additional information. 812-583-0919 or go to mystonecrestliving.com. That's mystonecrestliving.com for more details.
Enjoy healthy, delicious meals at home without the hassle with the Fresh Fork. Chef-curated, ready-made meals delivered right to your doorstep. Proudly fueling IU athletes and now available to you with a menu that's always fresh and diverse, from hearty proteins to fresh salads. The Fresh Fork empowers you to make better food choices without compromising. Let the Fresh Fork help transform your lifestyle for a healthier way of living today at thefreshforkonline.com. Use promo code RADIO20 and get $20 off your first order. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat Radio, brought to you by Hard Truth Distilling Company and Andy Moore Honda Bloomington. Jumping the gun on this Friday. I hope everybody's doing well. Jim Coyle with you here from the Hard Truth Distilling Company studios. And we are joined by our good friend Jeffrey the Greek, where hopefully he'll be with us each and every Friday throughout the remainder of the college football season. But he's brought to you by Pave Drain, baby. First of all, tell me about Pave Drain.
Yeah, the company I work for 4 years now. It's a permeable surface. So if anybody has hard cover issues, this is a stormwater world. But if you build too much impervious surface, you have to account for the water. So a lot of people listening to this might not understand it, but for the people that do, they understand it's something that they have to take care of. So we're a permeable surface parking lot. You can drive right over top of it. The water goes right through it. And then a really fun thing is for anybody building a new home or wants to remodel, we can do pave drain heated, which means you very quickly, easily put heating coils or heating piping through the pave drain, hook it up, and then you never have to worry about snow and ice accumulating on your driveway ever again. You got a nice warm, melting snow driveway all winter long in Indiana.
Hate snow and ice. I mean, when I was a kid, prayed for it every day to get out of school.
Right.
Now I pray for it every day that it doesn't come.
Different deal.
But,
Different deal.
Yeah. Make sure you go to pavedrain.com. Just like it sounds, people. It's pretty damn easy. Speaking of which, and not to be a get off my lawn guy, but how many times a day do you have people ask you a question that you just want to scream, GTS? Google that.
Gotcha.
Every day to me. Hey, do you know what time the game is? I'm like, Google does. Hey, do you know this?
I would say
Google does.
I would say the lack of curiosity is an epidemic in this country would be my take on that.
Yeah. Big Tom Jonas jumping on. Appreciate you, brother. He's talking on the Andy Moore Honda hotline. Thanks for everybody joining us here. Jeffrey the Greek with us, and a big weekend for Big Ten football. Tonight is going to be an interesting game, Jeffrey.
Yeah, absolutely.
Washington travels to Rutgers. Rutgers is going for a 5-0 start. Greg Schiano quietly just riding the wave. They win this game, and I think they do. Washington is okay, but I think Rutgers is better, and they're at home. And they get to 5. If they get to 5-0, they're one game from bowl eligibility. And I know their schedule will probably get much rougher on the backside, but
I feel bad when I was listing off all the teams that are the potential fourth team for the Big Ten to get in the. I didn't list off Rutgers or USC for that matter. Those are other teams that could get in. I predicted Rutgers 8-4 at the beginning of the year. So Rutgers being undefeated at this point in the season is no surprise to me. But this is their best opponent, I believe they faced so far this year. This is a good Washington team. I have to admit, this is a better Washington team than I thought they would be coming into the season. Mostly surprised by Washington's defense. Got a Belichick calling coordinating the defense. It's been looking pretty good. They got a really accurate quarterback. So this will be a tough matchup for Rutgers. But flying all the way across country, Washington to play this game. So it's a great matchup. I once I started breaking it down, I kind of, a lot of times I will just go off gut feel. I've actually got Washington winning this game outright. And so not only do I like Washington and the field goal, I like them winning it outright. But it's a big moment for Shiano and Rutgers. I want to be clear. Wouldn't be surprised for me to see Rutgers, power their way to the win as well. But that's just kind of what I'm feeling.
All right. Let's see. Let me go backwards. I had pulled the schedule up there for Rutgers. Now I got to go double back because Minnesota at Michigan. That's an easy one. Minnesota rolling the boat in circles. I'm not even going to waste our time.
Well, can I comment one thing on that though?
Please.
If you listen to the Eyes on Big podcast, we release it Wednesday evening. Maybe listen to it Thursday morning. That's my podcast partner Jordan and I. We both took Michigan -9 early, in the week. So Wednesday night, that was our Amador double barrel lock of the week. For anybody that likes to throw a couple shekels at these games, it's already gone up to 10.5, 11 in some spots. So we liked that one early. I still kind of like it at 10.5, not quite as much, but that to me was a good chance. You talked about Indiana when they went out to UCLA. I took the Hoosiers. I was pretty sure I liked the Hoosiers. Your confidence won me. A little bit of cashola on that one. So I feel kind of the same.
Where's my cut, baby? Where's my cut?
I'll send it to you in good feelings, hugs and kisses. But I like Michigan in that game as well.
Number 8, Oregon travels down to UCLA. Does UCLA show some of that moxie that they showed in Baton Rouge? Because they're a 25.5-point dog in the Rose Bowl, and I'm like, damn, that's a lot of points, man.
That's a lot of points. I don't like that line either way, if I'm being honest, but I would take Oregon. It's a away game in quotation marks. That stadium will probably be half green when they show it on the TV screen at 11 o'clock at night, your guys' time. Good luck staying up for that. Anybody that's listening to this interview, but I don't know. I don't think LSU's that great. I don't think UCLA is that great. Right. I tend to believe Oregon will get worked up into a lather pretty quick coming off the idle week and probably run away with that one.
They need to start buffering up their deal. Biggest game of the weekend in the Big Ten. Number 19, Illinois. The surprise Illini travel to Happy Valley as a 19.5-point underdog to Penn State. Now that looks like a juicy pick to me.
What it looks like is Vegas is begging you to take the Illini in this game. Craziest thing in the world is if this spread came out, 12, 13, something like that, I would have picked Penn State or Illinois to cover the spread. When it came out at 20, went down a little bit, then it and this is, only the way a gambling person's brain works, but then I went back the other way and then I took Penn State to cover it. All the breakdowns would tell me that this is going to be a close game, definitely Penn State win, but that line with Vegas is just sure seems to be talking to me. And I think what they see is that they see a Indiana offensive line that's going to have a hard time blocking this Penn State defense. And I think they see Penn State being able to just control the ball either on the ground or taking big shots on offense. So that's what Vegas has to see. So it's definitely interesting to check this game out because of, how is this going to look compared to this line? But seems like Penn State is going to run away with it.
17.5-point favorite on FanDuel. What a huge difference there. But let's go ahead and get to Indiana hosting Maryland this weekend. That's a 6.5, 7-point game, depending on where you go. You're liking Maryland and the points. You think it's going to be a tight one for once?
Not something I would play, but 7.5 would be more appealing to me with Maryland. It wouldn't be surprising to me to see Maryland have the lead. If let's say Maryland is up 10-7, you're getting 10 points at that point with the Terps. It's more of a nod to locks and Maryland than it is, any kind of shade I'm trying to throw at the Hoosiers. I want to be clear there. I've been very impressed with the Hoosiers.
Jeffrey is a equal opportunity offender, just like me. He's just calling what he sees, man. Big time college football fan.
Got to do it,
man.
Got to do it.
It's a blast having you back, and I look forward to it each week. Brought to you by pavedrain.com. Make sure you go check that out. Plenty of Hoosiers are doing it. So, and you can reach out for Jeffrey the Greek. It's actually Jeff. Is it B-U-R-C-H or
B-U-C-H?
B-U-C-H. So,
Buch.
You can reach out to Jeff Buch, B-U-C-H, there at Pave Drain, if you so desire. But check that out online. Appreciate you, brother. Looking forward to it next week, man. We'll see what we did is right. Have a great weekend.
You too.
Jeffrey the Greek joining us here on Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Big thanks to Todd Leary, the Todd father, for joining us. Zach Osterman from the Indy Star. And, of course, Jeffrey the Greek. More importantly, each and every one of you. Without you, we have no reason to be here. Thanks to Skyler for keeping us between the white lines. We'll be back after the game on Saturday for the Indiana postgame football show as they take on the Maryland Terrapins to try to get to 5-0 for the first time in 57 years. Until Saturday, I'm Jim Coyle. I will see you on the radio.
Thanks for listening to Indiana Sports Beat Radio. Be sure to subscribe to our YouTube page for more clips and team coverage of Indiana basketball, football, and more. You can also find full episodes and tons of other content on thehoosier.com. We'll see you next time for another edition of Indiana Sports Beat Radio.